Hot topic here on Morning Kick Round. I'm Robert. He's Jason. And what kind of a person are you, Jason? Are you a I like good news first or bad news first kind of guy?
Let's start with the good news. It's the first day of our return to full strength here after a little bit of a summer hiatus, kind of. So let's get into good news first.
All right. So the Modesto, California City Council approved a plan for a USL stadium out there. And so put them on the list for soccer specific stadiums coming our way. For those who don't know, Modesto, California, just east of the Bay Area. So Northern California getting another pin on the map. So I would say that's the best news. A little bit taken us by surprise. There was a letter of intent that went out about a year ago, and we haven't heard a great deal. But news coming out in the last couple of days that a stadium has been approved in Modesto, California.
Yeah, a $188 million U.S. stadium and housing project. And what do we always say about stadium building in America, Rob?
It's a real estate deal.
Yeah, it's not just about soccer. It's always a real estate deal. And honestly, this is okay, right? Like, okay, I'm not going to speak from a position of understanding the dynamics of Modesto or what money they have and don't have and things like that. And that's always part of this, right? It's always like a little bit like, okay, is this a handout to people who shouldn't be getting one? Is this good for the community as a whole, right? We're American soccer fans, and so we're constantly like, stadium projects are great. Let's build stadiums for our sport because we're tired of playing in baseball stadiums, or we're tired of playing in football stadiums, or whatever. But there has to be consideration of whether it's ultimately good for the community. Now, anytime you hear this is a privately financed stadium, you've got to be a little skeptical and you got to read the fine print. I don't know that this is what's I don't know that there's kind of concerns in Modesto, right? I don't know exactly whether there are. I'm sure there's going to be a group of people who are against it, right? There doesn't matter if it's good, bad, if it looks like it's being properly funded and financed. People will always say, "Hey, this is bad." Okay, so again, the decision from Modesto, just reporting on what we know, is that they decided to put the stadium downtown. This is about a couple of days ago, rather, August 5th. They decided to put the stadium downtown rather than on a municipal golf course. So I guess they had a golf course they could potentially develop, but through a 6-0 vote on Tuesday, August 5th, they said that there could be practice fields at that golf course, but they want to put the stadium downtown. The stadium will be built at and near Modesto Center Plaza on K Street. $125 million is the estimate, and then $35 million in public financing. Okay, so again, city has not announced any private investors who might cover the rest. That was as of a week ago. And again, with the way that sort of these processes work, you get another vote and then another vote. And then we got to go through this detail.
And then,
yeah. So this is going to be a downtown project planning to bring 939 homes combined. Let's see. There's some, obviously elements of like, oh, we got to have affordable units and that stuff. If that's what it takes to get a soccer stadium built, and again, we're not watching private individuals take advantage of public money, then this is great news. Now, 10,000 seats, Rob, is that what we're seeing for the capacity of this planned venue?
that's what's reported in the Modesto Bee, as well as stating that they would be one level below Sacramento Republic, would obviously make you lean towards USL 1, because they do state USL in that as part of the agreement, and then the reporting reports it as one level lower. So this will be a USL 1 side. Apparently there would be a women's side involved as well. And I'd love if there's any viewers in that kind of area, what kind of a city and what kind of area is this that they're talking about? The cross streets of this plan, Modesto Center Plaza and K Street. Be interested to see what kind of an area that is, and is there palpable excitement in the town for this, or is this just a kind of another thing that runs across the news ticker and no one's too bothered?
Yeah. So again, this is always the part of the messy nature of American soccer and figuring out, what and you know, oftentimes what we get, right? We get competing ownership groups or competing investors in one marketplace, even a place that's not, you know, it's not a big town. Modesto is not a large city, and yet there could be a, a, a battle for that. So to point something out, Chris Sal, wonder how this will fit in with Modesto City being a participant in the NISA fall season and possibly a revived NISA Pro. And I know we've been in touch with NISA, and they have a plan to start to do a fall tournament, and they're planning to get back to, you know, full strength. They got the new logo. We talked to their new commissioner, Chandler Hoffman. I did an interview with him last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever that was. Modesto City FC is the 8th club added to the fall tournament. This news came out last week, right? Well, this is all happening around the same time. Now, you know, I think they're in our minds, Rob. We want there to be room for, hey, you want to start a club? Go start a club. You want to start a club? Go start a club. You want to start a club? Go start a club. Now, some of those can be high amateur clubs. We've been spending a lot of time talking about those teams recently for various reasons, Annapolis and that kind of stuff. Vermont Green, obviously winning USL too, or it could be you should have the opportunity to start a pro club. And when we have multiple options for the league that you can join, right? So USL League One is one level, USL Championship is a level more expensive. NISA is trying to be as low barrier to entry as possible, but then obviously that comes with it some issues with funding and continued financial strength of the club. I mean, I don't want this to be a thing where we cannibalize Modesto and neither of these teams work. But because so much hinges on your stadium plan, it would seem as though a USL opportunity in Modesto could be coming. That obviously would benefit Modesto as a soccer market if that happens. But that doesn't mean that Modesto City couldn't still be playing. I just wonder if there's enough in there for all of this. And I haven't mentioned ProRel yet, but we have to bring it in because if USL enacts their plan and Modesto City is in League One with a 10,000 seat stadium, it's just something to keep in mind. It's not saying they couldn't expand. It's not saying they couldn't get a waiver. It's not saying they would turn down promotion, right? Because I think that's the thing we're not really fully engaged with. Some people have brought it up, and I know it's happened in our chat on various shows, Rob, that if we've got to open up Pro Rel and it's got to be this big thing, and teams like Vermont Green or Annapolis Blues or whoever it is, if they win their way up, should be able to go up. There's a very real possibility that if you had those teams in one league structure or in one pyramid, when they're at the lower level and they look up and they go, well, it costs a lot more to go up there, and we don't have a stadium lease that will cover us, and our stadium's too small, or we can't pay our players, they'll say, no, thank you, we're good where we are. And that's something that I think we either have to make peace with that notion that there may be teams that win their league and say, no, thank you to promotion, or we got to figure out a different way of doing it.
So you know what comes after the good when we do the good and the bad? It is the bad news for soccer stadium projects. We'll shift over to the east side of the country. The Boston soccer stadium projects are getting even more complicated. It's been 30 years of no soccer stadium for the revolution, but there seems to have been progress. There's an Everett Stadium project, and then the NWSL side has a white stadium, so they might go from 0 to 2 soccer stadiums. But there's a big but. The Kraft Stadium project, the Everett Stadium project, has gotten a little bit more complicated as Josh Kraft, the son of the Revolution owner, is a mayoral candidate. And so current Boston Mayor Wu says, they had a press conference very recently saying that the Krafts are not providing enough mitigation or data. And so it's kind of putting the kibosh on the stadium project as it is now.
Yeah, this is obviously messy Boston politics. So Michelle Wu is the mayor right now, and she's running for re-election. And one of her opponents or I guess her main opponent is Josh Kraft, who is a Kraft,
son of Kraft,
but he is not the soccer Kraft. That's Jonathan Kraft, who's the soccer Kraft. Josh Kraft is not the soccer Kraft. He is the charitable foundation Kraft. That's what apparently he does in the Kraft in the whole Kraft situation.
Man, I'd love to be charity legacy. I'd love to be.
I know, right?
Oh,
all right. So, there are lots of things flying. Again, not going to pretend to be an expert on Boston politics, but this does have an impact on soccer. So, the Crafts would like to build a soccer stadium in Everett. There are concerns for the city of Boston because Everett is right next door to Charlestown, which is a part of Boston, just north of the Mystic River. And as you said, mitigation and things like that are part of this, and transportation. I know Mayor Wu was talking about some of the issues with the T and the number of people trying to get from here to there. Everybody is just making a big splash in an attempt to woo, no pun intended, to woo voters. In fact, Kraft is claiming that Wu is using her office to campaign, which is not exactly legal in a lot of cases. The way that she goes about holding press conferences, if she's doing that on the city's dime, when she's attacking Kraft over the Everett Stadium thing, is that, again, are we just putting on a big show and all of that? As for White Stadium, again, this is a project that Michelle Wu was totally behind, the White Stadium project. But Josh Kraft is saying, well, actually, this is a boondoggle and the money's not right, and this whole thing is messed up and that kind of thing. So again, it's like, and you never want to assume good intentions on the part of ownership groups in American soccer. But if we are going to back a horse as American soccer fans, we prefer to back the horse that says, let's build a soccer stadium. And in that case, it's the Boston Legacy ownership group. And the other case, it's the Doing the Revolution ownership group. And in both cases, the mayoral candidates have their issues with these, partly because it scores political points for them, not just because it's about soccer.
Yeah, and indeed, we don't want to necessarily delve into this. We can do a whole episode, but I want to bring up this from Chris C in the comments. Why doesn't USSF actually have a tier system figured out for amateur and professional leagues? And that's $1 million question, Chris.
That's Pandora's box, Chris. We will open Pandora's box at some point. We can try that. We can get some experts on and maybe dive into that. Actually, you know what? Since we're here and we're just having a little fun, and we're going to get to one more thing, and it is in his neck of the woods. So I'll tie this in. I saw that Peter Wilt went on the one of the new Kickback media shows. I can't remember which one. My apologies. And then talked about club building, because obviously Peter Wilt has built some clubs, and this is on the back of Vermont Green, and they obviously talked to the group up there and all of that. So, we can talk to Peter Wilt about this. He has written Peter Wilt's manifesto is the manifesto. Let's be honest. He's written a pro-rel manifesto as a guy who has worked in American soccer at a number of clubs and a number of levels. We can maybe talk to him. But as I said, Rob, we have one more story that ties into Peter Wilt's backyard. So what do we got?
All right. So in Milwaukee, we talked about a little bit. There was supposed to be a stadium for soccer, both for club and collegiate to use. And the promise from the powers that be, that building would start at the beginning of summer. And one vigilant blogger has been checking in on it, and absolutely nothing has happened at the building site in Milwaukee, which is a bummer, because Milwaukee would seems like a city that is the right size, has the right appetite for sports, has a kind of engaged populace, and obviously Peter Wilt with plenty of legacy there, but nothing is happening in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I wish we had more to add to this story.
It's just nothing's happened.
Just nothing happened. It's gone quiet, right? And nobody wants to be delivering bad news. So I imagine the Milwaukee group is like, what do we say? We can't say, if we say something, it's going to be negative. We don't want to tamp down excitement, right? Even because if there's a chance that they can get this off the ground, they can get the shovels in the ground and start building the stadium, they're going to want to do that, Rob. So, and what sucks for us is that we talked about the USL expansion possibilities a while back. We did a full review or as much of a review as we could. I don't know if it was full, because there's always something being added or maybe we're missing. And we talked about the fact that there was a name the team contest in Milwaukee. That's how far along we thought they were. They're ready to name the team, get a color scheme together, make some shirts, sell some gear. And instead we have nothing happening. And I'm going to remind you of the 10 team names that Milwaukee posted to their website that could be the name of a new Milwaukee USL team that maybe isn't getting off the ground because they can't get their stadium started. Milwaukee Tall Boys, Goodland, Lake Effect, Milwaukee Iron, 1846 Milwaukee, Milwaukee Barons, Milwaukee Brigade, Fresh Coast, Cream City, and Milwaukee Industrial. So those were the names. I can't remember what we decided we thought was the best. I think Tall Boys sounded nice. I thought Cream City, but that's maybe not soccer reasons that I'm on board with that one. So yeah, not great stuff in Milwaukee right now.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. So good, bad for American Soccer Stadium projects here on Morning Kick Round. Thank you for tuning in. We are going to continue following these types of stories as the show progresses. So become a subscriber and then a member of the show. You can also reach out via social media at Morning M Kickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. And then you can also write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com. Thank you for everyone who's subscribed, become a member, supported on coffee.com/morningkickaround and all those. And then we are looking to keep growing this town center of American soccer